I was glad you were a boy. I wanted a boy and a girl. So I was excited that I had a boy. Everything went a lot smoother with your birth. I think at the moment, in that moment, I didn't have any thoughts beyond that. It's when, I was carrying you and I didn't know whether you're a boy or girl. And we didn't even have a name picked out because we just weren't sure. But I think it's that you think of so many things about what they're going to look like, what they're going to turn out. So I don't know if I had any preconceived notions about what that child was supposed to be. It's just as you got older, then you could see more about who you were and what your strengths were, what your weaknesses were, and where I thought you were headed. You were always very tender-hearted. So I knew that you were going to be the type of person who was tender-hearted. You were shy. So I mean, for a while, that was your personality. It was very shy. You were very creative when you were younger. You had an imagination. So you were definitely always going to have some kind of creative spark in you. So the preschool did home visits. And those were on a Friday, and basically the teachers just wanted to come into the home and see the child in their natural atmosphere. So when your teachers came, you hid. You didn't want them in your home, and as much as you liked them, you liked being in school, you didn't want them in your house. So you hid, and you didn't show your face. I was starting to sub at the school. And it wasn't my leaving that made you upset, it was my being there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Your mom being in your classroom did not sit well with you. It's just like with the teachers coming to your home. That's not how it's supposed to be. And with your mom being in your class, and there was no other parents. So it wasn't like it was a special thing. It was your mom was going to start working there. So I think it was just like it didn't make sense to you. You were very backwards shy. Like you didn't, it took a lot of encouraging you to talk to people. Now, I mean, I think you're not shy. At least you don't come across it. You're very outgoing in terms of initiating conversation. Back then, you didn't initiate anything with others, really, unless you were very, very comfortable with them. I don't think you were as shy with your peers as you were with the adults. I was at the zoo. That was fun. It was all of us being together, looking at the animals, just hanging out. You guys like that. I think you were joyful, and I think you were content. Mm-hmm. You were just living in that moment. Yeah. And you were eating.
Yeah.
That's always good for you. Oh, it's been fun. It's been heart-wrenching in some ways. It's been emotional. Because, here's my little boy and all of a sudden he's a man. But it's been one of those that I couldn't be prouder. Even when you do stuff I don't agree with, I'm still proud of you. I was worried about you. You were more sensitive. Things, I think, hurt you more in some ways to the average kid. Yeah. You were always a little more sensitive. I mean, I think it's all about listening. A lot of prayer. But you were receptive to what was being said. So while the situations were difficult, I don't want to use the word easy to parent, I think you were a very compliant child. I think it was you were getting close to 2.5 and you weren't really talking a whole lot. And you were a late crawler, walker, but you didn't really crawl. You just one day you just stood up and walked. But it's just, you weren't very communicative. And I remember talking to the doctor and then going through, I think it was Help Me Grow. And so they did an assessment of you, and yeah, you really didn't talk a whole lot. So they got you an early intervention, and it's mostly speech, but you did some craft things, some OT, occupational therapy things, just to kind of build on those skills. And you went to preschool, you went to Ida Sue, so you had typical and non-typical students in there, and you had an IEP, an individualized education program, just for speech. And so they worked with you a lot with your speech, with not just your communication, but your understanding of the language. And really, by the time you were ready to go to kindergarten, you were done with IEP. I think part of it, and it's been said that you had an older sister and she talked for you. So you didn't need to talk. Didn't really if you didn't need to, because you had somebody answering your questions for you. There was definitely still, because we had gotten a tutor for you later on, just because of some of the language, the reading, that kind of stuff. And again, if you don't like it, if it's not necessarily a strong suit, you don't want to do it. I was terrified of sending you there to school, just because of, I think it was just kind of guilt, I didn't do enough for you. But they were great, you made friends, and you worked yourself out of the IEP, so it was really not an issue. You were ready to go to kindergarten. I thought that you would not make some of the choices that you did, like with basketball. I thought you would play through and maybe go to college and play basketball. I think I knew you'd be successful in whatever you did. I worried, I think, about your education, because through high school, you definitely had some struggles with certain classes, not with all of them, but with certain classes. And so I think there was that worry. Is he gonna be able to put the work into it that's needed? But I think, generally, I think you were going to be successful because you wanted to be successful, and you were passionate about some things. And I just have to say though, and it's funny because you are able to communicate really well. So it was just, I think, because you didn't like to read. Not that you necessarily couldn't do it. It's just you had no interest in it, so therefore you didn't do it. So the less you did it, the farther behind you got in certain things because you didn't want to do it. I think I was more worried in how you and your sister would interact. Bringing a baby into the home. I think that was what worried me. Well, we joke about when we brought you home from the hospital, she said, "Baby, bye-bye." So we knew she didn't like you right away. But as you guys got older, you were able to play more together, and so I think you guys kept each other busy. Definitely different, but you guys were able to play outside together and play with Cooper and play video games. So I think you guys were pretty close. Oh, you were just so cute. You were so cute, and I felt just the need to protect you all the time. And you were just sweet. You were sweet. It wasn't easy, but I think I felt like you had a good head on your shoulders. So it was emotional, but I felt like, okay, he's gonna be okay. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because knowing that you were a little kid and you weren't big on talking, and then all of a sudden you're on the radio in college at WQKT, and you sound so radio-like, and oh my gosh, it was amazing. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, that's my kid on the radio. And I had to listen, you know, because I wanted to hear it. And you guys were so clever. And it was just like, it's one of those where, wow, he's come a long way from where he started as a little kid. Oh, it meant everything. It was like, it was such a proud moment, like knowing that you were getting that degree, that diploma, like you really did it. And you were very resilient. Like if a problem came, you bounced back from it. I mean, I think overall I know the things that God has spoken over your life. I mean, I can't wait to see how the rest of your life evolves. I do know that there are good things in store for you. It's getting through some of those rough patches, but you make me proud.